All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, May 21st. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do when we go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, all those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Yesterday, a 3-3 night. The Brewers being the tipping point there. They end up losing in extra innings. One of my favorite plays was the Red Sox money line and first five money line. That cashes. The Royals come through as well. The Twins, yeah, they weren't exactly showing up yesterday. They got smoked right away, and I think they did come back and kind of score a decent amount of runs, but ultimately Washington kind of had that game. I think they scored like 3 runs, but Washington had that game from the start. But like I said, the Brewers went to extra innings. They were up, I think, 1-0 and then 2-1. And I was like, just doesn't seem like it's enough. They end up losing 3-2 in extra, so that was sort of the tipping point there. The vibe kind of takes a turn for the worse here. Ride of the day, we had Jose Altuve under 1.5 bases coming in from Aaron here. Jose Altuve sends one over the wall, so obviously that loses, but good try there. I liked the spot. I liked the matchup, so we jumped on board with Aaron here. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you got to do is use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss, also over on my Twitter. Go follow me there. But yeah, if you win, we continue to ride with your pick. If you lose, we got to suffer the womp womp of the soundboard, and we jump on board with someone else the next day. So make sure to get those hashtag ride of the days in, because we are in the market for finding a new pick. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. We are nearing 75,000 subscribers. Like I said yesterday, I cannot believe that, and I'm so appreciative of it. So can't wait to hit that milestone, and then you know what? It's the next milestone after that. But like I said yesterday, I like to stop and smell the roses, and that'll be a damn good smelling rose. But let's jump into this game number 1 here. We're looking at the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Mets. Almost pulled the trigger yesterday on the Guardians here on the money line. They ended up winning 3-1. For whatever reason, that line kind of scared me. So I can say almost and all that, but that only counts in, horseshoes and hand grenades, not in sports betting. So we didn't pull the trigger there. I don't mind them again today. My problem is that Carlos Carrasco's on the mound, 5.16 ERA. His whip is a 1.5. At home, it's a 1.8 this year. Not all that great, but he's going up against Adrian Hauser, who is, this dashboard that we've built may have never seen as much red as it sees with Adrian Hauser here. So I guess you could say there's a slight pitching advantage for Cleveland, even from a bullpen perspective. Like Cleveland's bullpen, number 1 in the league right now. So I think that there is a slight advantage. I think Cleveland's bullpen is going to be super taxed after yesterday, so definitely something to keep in mind. But so should the Mets to some degree, but not nearly as much. They're more of like guys who pitched the last 2 of 3 days, not necessarily yesterday. So if that's a deal breaker for you, I get it. But yeah, ultimately for me, Adrian Hauser is fadeable right now. I'm going to lean towards Cleveland on the money line. I just don't know if that makes its way into being a final play, because, again, I don't know if I trust Carlos Carrasco. It's almost like the lesser of two evils. But in terms of a total here, I don't believe either one of these offenses is all that tremendous. 9.5, I think, is a little bit inflated just due to the fact that we have a couple pitchers on the mound that can certainly let up a decent amount of runs. So I'm actually going to lean towards the under here and kind of fade that thought process of, well, both of these pitchers are going to go out there and let up like 6 runs, right? So give me the Guardians and the under. I'm much more willing to play the under, but even still, I'll be honest with you guys, neither one of those leans are that strong in my opinion. Next up, we're looking at Cincinnati taking on San Diego. Cincinnati just got swept by the Dodgers, but they did have a day off. San Diego, opposite of a day off, right? They had 2 games yesterday. They win game number 1, then lose the second game of that doubleheader against Atlanta. But they did take 3 of 4 in that series. So I do think that that's sort of a feather in their cap in and of itself. Like, let's not forget, they won the LA series, right? The Dodgers series. Then they get swept by Colorado. You're like, all right, water finds its level. A big win of that series against Atlanta, 3-1. So I think San Diego has a little momentum coming in here. I don't trust Joe Musgrove. He's got a 6.37 ERA this year. On the road, his FIP is at 5.57. On a season, his FIP's at 5.9. So either way, not looking all that great. Going up against Andrew Abbott, who has a good season ERA at 3.06, but not the best home pitcher. His home and away splits are a little bit off. So I do think that both pitchers could struggle here. I immediately thought I liked the over, and I still do to some degree. But Cincinnati's offense this season, not this season, excuse me, last 30 days, 30th in average, 29th in on-base percentage, dead last in OPS, ISO, and slugging, and those don't get all that much better when we're looking at them on the road, at home versus righty at home. Like, it's hard to split this anyway and make lemonade out of those lemons. So I don't think Cincinnati's offense is firing right now. I'm going to lean towards San Diego team total over here. And then maybe a money line. I'll trust the better offense, San Diego. But like I said, both these pitchers scare me a decent amount. So I think my main play here is going to be that team total for San Diego, depending on what you can get it at. In fact, I can try and find that very quickly, odds-wise, because it's a 9.5 total. You're going to get a decent amount here. 4.5 for minus 120. That's even asking a lot. But like I said, San Diego did look pretty good against Atlanta. They hit over that line in 2 of the last 3 games, I believe, and in 2 of the 4 in the series. So that'll be my main lean. But overall, again, I don't know if I can trust Joe Musgrove. All right, Philadelphia hosting Texas here. Kind of went back and forth on this one, not necessarily from a who's going to win perspective, but looking at Philadelphia, I was trying to make a case for them, and I was like, minus 180, those odds are terrible. Honestly, in the last hour and a half, their odds have dropped to minus 166, or at least I hadn't even been keeping an eye on the odds because the graphic we had was minus 180. So I think that I can get behind those odds here, and I think FanDuel is the only line that's offering this right now. Most books are in the minus 175 or minus 180, so wouldn't be surprised if FanDuel bumps this closer to minus 170, minus 175 pretty soon. So for now, I definitely lean towards Philadelphia here in terms of a lean. This is a team that's obviously been playing really well on the season. They've won 71% of their home games. They're at home here. What I will say is that these are 2 pitchers that are more than capable overall. You do have Philadelphia's Ranger Suarez, who has a great season mark of 1.37 with an ERA there. His whip at home, 0.97, 2.65 FIP, an expected FIP of 2.86, average against 204. All those numbers are great. They're even better just on the season. So the dude's been consistent. John Gray on the road has been really good so far this year. So I do think I look at this and say, okay, you know what? Both of these pitchers certainly have the ability to pitch well. I'm going to trust this offensive split here from Philadelphia over them. But like we always do, guys, when we bet Philadelphia, we're probably going to take them in the first 5 innings, because even looking at this, Texas bullpen, not all that great, right? But neither is Phillies. I don't want to mess around with Phillies bullpen. There's been times in the year where we've bet Philly money line. They've won the first 5 innings and lose the game ultimately. So I do think that this is a spot in which we can consider first 5 innings. You want to look at the pitch split too. Fastball, slider, changeup. Well, look at this. Fastball, 2nd, runs above average. Slider, 2nd, runs above average. Changeup, 4th, and runs above average. So should be a good spot for them to be able to hit. Compared to Texas, number 1 pitch for Ranger Suarez is the sinker. Texas, 30th in runs above average in terms of hitting sliders. So I like Philly's chances here, but most likely it's going to be a first 5 unless we can't get good odds on that. And by the way, guys, if you do want access to this dashboard, all you have to do is become a channel member. $2.99 per month. Every day, you'll get a breakdown of each and every game from a pitching perspective, a batting perspective, bullpen perspective, even the pitch mix, right? All that stuff updated in the morning. So find that join button. It should be right next to the subscribe button. It's also in the description. I'll put it in the pinned comment to make it easy as well. But again, $2.99 per month. You get this for the entire month. So yeah, consider becoming a channel member and supporting us. This took a lot of work, and honestly, it's a great starting point. If you go into games not knowing where to start your research, this is great because you can see all the green. That's good. If you see red, it's bad. Pretty easy to understand where to start your research. So consider becoming a channel member today. In terms of a total, it's at 8.5 right now. I could see this one being a game in which both pitchers have themselves a good outing. So I'm going to lean towards the under. I don't know if I love the idea of taking an under and the Phillies on the money line, because ultimately I kind of want the Phillies to be able to go out there and just score as many runs as they can, right? But I still believe John Gray's having a good year. I still believe in Ranger Suarez. So 8.5, a little bit too high. I'm going to lean towards the under. I'm much more likely to pull the trigger on the Phillies money line, though, honestly, before that. And just real quick, I looked up the first 5 odds here. Minus 155 right now on MGM for that first 5. So they know that Phillies bullpen is tough, right? So you're losing a little bit of, or you're gaining a little bit of odds, but obviously they do think that, the full game could be the spot. But I kind of like that because we're getting a better price for first five. All right, Pittsburgh taking on San Francisco. Both these teams have been playing decent baseball. Pittsburgh took 3 of 4 against the Cubs, and San Francisco coming off of a sweep. They've also won 6 of their last 4. When I say coming off of a sweep, they did sweep Colorado, but let's not forget Colorado's like a week removed from being a team that was sweeping other teams, right? They also scored 10, 14, and 4 runs in that series, so it's worth giving them their flowers, but I still will remain saying it is Colorado. Okay. On the mound for San Francisco is going to be Logan Webb, who's definitely, I think, has the upper hand and edge against the pitcher for Pittsburgh today, Martin Perez. But on the road, Webb has had some issues this season. Not enough for me to kind of flip to the Pirates. So I'm going to stick on the San Francisco side of things just due to the fact that Pittsburgh against righties in the last 30 days here have been pretty bad. Third worst average, second worst WRC plus, fourth worst K percentage, third worst on base percentage, dead last in OPS, dead last in slugging, third worst in ISO. None of those stats get really much better against righties at home either. So I do think this is a spot in which they could struggle. The one thing I'll say using this dashboard is you could see this is pretty tough changeup. It's like the only pitch that they're really hammering. You're going to get a lot of changeups from Logan Webb. So if that scares you off, albeit, but nonetheless, I'm still on San Francisco on the money line in this one. Like I said, they're coming off of a sweep. They had a day off. Like, they should be well rested for this one. Against lefties on the year, 12th best average, 10th best on base percentage, middle of the road from OPS, ISO, slugging. Like, that sounds like it's just mediocrity, but compared to Pittsburgh, that's actually pretty damn good, right? So give me San Francisco, but I will say Pittsburgh's offense did kind of heat up in that series. Like, we don't want to sit here and act like it didn't happen, but it was Colorado. So take it for what it's worth. I like San Francisco. Definitely has a chance of being a final play today. In terms of a total here in this spot, I think I like the under because I don't know if Logan Webb is going to get shelled here today. Like, I think he has a pretty decent day, or at least he should have a pretty decent day based on these bats. But is Martin Perez going to, like, both these pitchers let up 3 runs and go to the bullpens, and then these are not good bullpens, let up 1 run each. So it's like, I'm going to lean under, but that 8 is a little worrisome. You know what I mean? Like, if this was 9 or 8.5, obviously a higher number, it might make me a little bit more confident, but neither one of these pitchers, like, is going to dominate today, I don't think. And then the bullpens are both, bottom 10 bullpens in the league. So something to think about there. I'll lean towards the under because of the offense of Pittsburgh. But, yeah, I just want to give you kind of all sides of the coin. Both sides of the coin. Or all sides, depending on how many sides your coin has. Yikes. All right, Miami taking on Milwaukee. We have Robert Gasser on the mound here, going up against Trevor Rogers. Rogers, like, I don't get some of these pitchers in the league. Trevor Rogers, his last start, he looked decent. Okay, I'll give him credit for that. But before that, like, he literally was one strike away, not even a ball. Like, the manager could see a strike and be like, yeah, get that guy out of here. So he was pitching so poorly. But Robert Gasser, nothing to really brag about here. I don't think he's pitched on the road yet this year, but he's looked decent. I think I'm more or less going to be trusting the bats here of Milwaukee. Kind of dormant yesterday. We had them yesterday. They failed us, but I don't mind pulling the trigger again here. They lost in extras. They could have won that game, right? My one concern is that there's a lot of righties in this Miami lineup. Gasser is really good against left-handed hitters, and they only have a couple of those. So worth noting that this is a spot for Miami to potentially take this. But for plus 120, the way Miami's playing, I know they just won yesterday and they had a really good series against the Mets. Like, I understand it. They're still the Miami Marlins in my brain, so maybe I'm getting hung up on that. You could be right. I could be wrong. But plus 120 isn't enough to get me to that side. So give me Milwaukee in this sense. In terms of the total we're looking at, it's sitting at 8 right now. Like I said, I think Milwaukee's bats come a little bit more alive today, and they can near like 5 runs. So I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee on the money line. I'm going to lean towards the over. I'm also going to consider Milwaukee over 3.5 for a team total here in this spot. Minus 145 on MGM right now. Obviously, that's still kind of juiced, but I don't mind that spot whatsoever. So kind of Milwaukee all the way for me today. Hopefully, Gasser performs well on the road. All right, guys, before we do jump into the rest of the games, I wanted to shout out our merch brand we have here on the channel. You can get 10% up if you sign off, 10% 10% off if you sign up with your phone number there. But we got tons of new products. I'm rocking the Gambler collection right now. We got the Gambler embroidered boxy tee. This thing is such good quality. I'm excited for summer because it's kind of like heavy, so it fits your body well, but also light in a sense that, you're going to be outside not sweating bullets. I love this boxy tee as well, the graphic printed, but tons of cool stuff. I'm also rocking one of our newest ones, which is the logo snapback here. Pretty damn sick. We also have a hoodie in that as well. If you guys do want to support me, support us and what we're doing here at the channel, head over to fademe.store. We got tons of stuff. One of our all-time best sellers and one of my favorite is this They Don't Boo Nobody shirt as well. Appreciate everyone that has supported and picked up some merch along the way, guys. If you do want to support, that link will be in the pinned comment. Fademe.store is the URL. Seriously, guys, like, this brand was not made as a joke. I don't want to say that, but made as like all right, everyone kept saying my picks stink. This is years ago, right? And I'd be like, okay, fade me. And then it also has a double meaning of, like, you should be able to be a sports bettor and be like, hey, here's my pick, but feel free to fade me because I've been cold as of late and blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like, if you know the meaning, it means a little bit more, which I do appreciate people that buy it to support and all that. But guys, go check it out. I don't mean to get all sappy here. Fademe.store. My phone goes cha-ching when we make an order, and I absolutely love when I hear that throughout the day. Like, makes my week. So guys, go check it out. Fademe.store. Yeah, probably a bad pitch for it because I just started talking and getting in my feels, but nonetheless, this is something I'm super, super proud of, and proud of all the designs. Like, we had someone comment yesterday being like, I ordered 3 shirts. They just became the number 1, 2, and 3 quality shirt in my closet. And I was like, that means a lot to hear. So enough rambling for me. Go check it out. Fademe.store. Let's jump back into these games, all right? All right, Washington taking on Minnesota. Yesterday, I would have thought it was the time to pull trigger on Minnesota. Today, I feel the exact same way, and I'll say it. I do like Minnesota again on the money line. They're really heavily juiced at minus 180, so I don't think that we can get there today just due to the fact that obviously they're that juiced. What I will say is that going up against Patrick Corbin here, who has been such a fadeable pitcher in my mind, a little bit better against righties, so I'll give him credit there. Minnesota, not many lefties in the lineup. In fact, how many lefties do they have in the lineup here? I can pull that up very quickly. So they have... Yeah, in the lineup, they actually only have one. Wow, they don't even have a lefty in the starting lineup today. It doesn't look like expected lineup. So there you go. Like, this could be a spot where he maybe pitches a little bit better, but I can't trust that. I'm still going to lean Minnesota. But again, we got to figure out a way to play them that doesn't involve having, minus 180 odds, which maybe we consider their team total over 3. You can get that on Caesars for minus 137 or over 3.5 for plus 110. That last game was kind of I don't want to say an outlier of how they'd been, but this Minnesota team, on the season is averaging 4.43 runs for. They've been a little cold as of late, but for them to go and score 4 runs would kind of just be them keeping up their season average, right? So I think that this could be a spot for plus money on them, but it would have to be taking the team total over. I wouldn't mind if you want to, if you'd rather fade the Nationals, going and taking them. I think their team total under, say, 4 for plus 125 or under 4.5 for plus 110. I like that spot as well. So there's ways to get to Minnesota without actually betting Minnesota today. In terms of the total, I'll lean towards the under as well. I don't think Washington is going to come to play necessarily. Just kind of hoping that Minnesota does. All right, next up, we got Tampa Bay taking on Boston. I wish that we played more on this game yesterday. We had them first 5 and final, money line. I wish that we went double result, because we would have been able to. That's essentially parlaying those two. They have to be leading after 5 and winning the game. Would have got them at plus 170, I think. So that would have been nice. I like the Red Sox again today for a couple reasons. Cooper Criswell's on the mound. Not like I want to overly back him, but Zach Littell's been a little inconsistent. Last time he pitched against the Red Sox, 7 hits, 1 home run, just 3 strikeouts, 20 pitches per inning, and 4 earned through 5. So I don't think that he's going to go out and absolutely stomp. Cooper Criswell, I don't think they're trying to get him deep into the games either. So I was going to say they yanked him kind of early, and he deserved it. But again, I'm not backing him. It's more or less me looking at this saying, okay, this Red Sox offense should be better. The bullpen should be better, and they're rested. Tanner Houck being able to go, I think it was a 7 1/3 last night, or 7 2. I forget. Did he pitch 7 innings? I forget, 6 2/3 or something like that, right? I think that was a good move, able to rest that bullpen. I think he pitched 7 innings, just like Bradley. But overall, the Red Sox were able to pull it out. I see something similar today against right-handed pitchers here in the last 30 days. 6th best average, top 6 in OPS, ISO, and slugging. So hopefully they can do what they did yesterday because, they scored 5 runs. 4 of those runs came from home runs. Two-run shots. One from Rafi, who has now made Red Sox history, 6 straight games, and then one from, I think it was Rafaela. So, yeah, if they can get to Littell again, or the Tampa Bay Rays, and get to Littell here, I do think that this could be a decent spot overall. The one concern is that Littell's going to throw a lot of sliders, sinkers, and splitters. Those are not necessarily the best Red Sox pitches, but nonetheless, give me the Sox here on the money line. I think for plus money, they have the value here. In terms of a total, the only way I see them really winning this game is if they go out there and score a decent amount of runs, so I'll lean towards the over here as well, but I'd much rather them on the money line for the plus money. And in terms of a player prop, I don't mind. Now, you're paying a decent amount of odds here, but Littell under 5.5 strikeouts. He has 2 straight starts now, 3 strikeouts. If the Red Sox get to him whatsoever, I don't think he's going to be whiffing guys. So I do think this could be a good spot. Again, I just kind of gave you the precursor though, right? The Red Sox do struggle against his pitches, not swing and miss wise, but just not scoring and whatnot. So, could be a risky spot there, but again, 2 straight starts of 3 strikeouts in each. That's only half of needing to hit this line, so could be a consideration here. All right, we got the Yankees taking on the Mariners here. Schmidt on the mound for the Yanks, and on the mound for the Mariners is going to be Brian Woo, who has looked pretty good to start his season. Obviously, only a couple starts under his belt. I believe they're both at home, but his ERA is looking really good at a .93. Going up against Schmidt, who has a good ERA as well at 2.49. I don't really want to kind of trust Brian Wu just yet. So overall, I think I'm going to lean towards the Yanks in this spot, even though they did lose yesterday, but that might help our odds here. We're getting the Yankees at -160 odds in a spot in which I think that they bounce back pretty damn strongly, so I'll lean towards them. This Seattle offense does not scare me against righties. Obviously, you look at them yesterday and say, okay, you know what? They were able to get to Stroman. Actually, they weren't even really able to get to Stroman. He pitched a good game, so yeah, I think that they, I hate to say, got kind of lucky because I'm a Red Sox fan, so I'll say anything negative against the Yankees, right? But I do think Seattle got they stumbled into that win to some degree. So I will say that this Yankees team should be able to bounce back. In terms of player props here, I don't think that they bounce back strong enough to look at Clark Schmidt and he deals a gem, even though I just kind of ragged on the offense here. Clark Schmidt under 6.5 strikeouts is going to be a spot that I don't mind. Like, he's getting, first off, he's hit the under in 56% of games this season, right? He's hit the over, and when he does, it's 7, 7, 7, and 8. So he's not even blowing away this line at all, right? And you look at Seattle, they're the worst strikeout team in the league. So I get it. I get why this line's inflated, but I still think he's got to go out there and be able to fan guys, right? I don't necessarily love this spot for him, but I'm giving you the context, guys. This is a plus money play, kind of a flyer against one of the worst strikeout teams in the league. He could do it. No one's saying he's not, but I could make Clark Schmidt under 6.5 strikeouts a move here, just due to the fact that it's a high line. Like, he hit the under last year in 72% of his starts. The dude's not a 7 per game strikeout guy. We didn't talk about the total yet here in this spot. I like the over. I think that this is a spot in which the Yankees could go and drop 5 at minimum, so maybe Seattle can kind of contribute with 2 or 3, and then we take it from there. All right, we got Toronto taking on the White Sox. Yusei Kikichi on the mound for the Jays, going up against Garrett Crochet, who I have told you guys, I like Crochet. Not as good on the road as he is at home, though. His whip at home is a 1.01. On the road, it's 1.22. His FIP at home is a 3.27. FIP on the road, 6.09. Expected FIP, 2.61. On the road, 3.8. So he definitely has some struggles at home, but he's good against right-handed hitters, which is the predominant side of this Toronto lineup. So I guess that's worth noting and considering. But overall, I still think this should be and probably is a Toronto spot. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Toronto. They're super juiced though, which again, kind of painful to see that, because this could be a decent spot for them. With a good pitcher on the mound, like, they could get decent odds, I guess, to some degree. But makes sense why this juice is where it is. In terms of the total, we're looking at 7.5. Well, to me, I don't know if either one of these teams is going to excel against either of these pitchers, but they've already kind of accounted for that in the total. So it did make me almost second guess it, but nonetheless, I am going to lean towards the under still. Get wind blowing, or I guess for what it's worth. But I just think that both these pitchers are going to be kind of on their game today. Again, Crochet struggles on the road, but hoping this Toronto offense isn't too powerful, I guess, in a sense, and they shouldn't be for him today. So give me the under as well as Toronto on the money line, but the under, I wish it was at 8. I do, because I think this could be a 4-3 game, and that means we're sweating out 7.5. All right, Kansas City cashing for us yesterday as they now take on the same team, the Detroit Tigers. Casey Mize on the mound for the Tigers going up against Alec Marsh. Alec Marsh has looked pretty good, but not like totally at home, which is kind of weird. But Casey Mize also has been a home pitcher, and they're on the road today. So I could see an argument, and I know people hate when I say this. I could see an argument being made for both sides in this spot. But I'm going to take the home team at a decent price at -108 on FanDuel right now. In terms of the total, we did see a decent game, I guess, yesterday, but that was really Kansas City kind of carrying all the water, right? That final score was 8-3. So I think that this could be another spot for an over. I'm just hoping Detroit shows up a little bit more today, and maybe we get a floor of 5-4, and then we stumble into 1 runs at some point along the way. You know what I mean? So I'll lean towards the over, but I definitely think Kansas City could be another spot here. They're playing good baseball. 7 of their last 10 games, I believe 8 of their last 11, and they've won 4 straight. So yeah, I'll take them in this spot. I think their bats, their numbers aren't looking all that great, but they're just not striking out. So it's definitely a spot in which they're allowing guys to get on base. So I'll lean towards Kansas City. I want to lean towards the over. I did, but I don't think that makes its way into being a final play. All right, guys, before we jump into this game, if you're still watching, make sure to go ahead and comment 26. You just made it into the 26 marker of the video. Appreciate the hell out of you guys for doing that. Appreciate all the support. Like I said, almost at 75K here on YouTube is just absolutely amazing. If you guys want more content and everything like that, we do have our socials rotating right through here throughout the show. We have a new series/challenge going on over on Instagram at MLB Picks. It just showed up where we spin the wheel, get a random team, and then we have to win a bet on that team, or we can't advance. Right now, we lost Brewers money line yesterday, so we're going to be looking into that today. But yeah, nonetheless, go follow me on all those socials. Different content posted all there. You guys know we're working our asses off for the content. But let's jump into this game here. We got the Cubs taking on Atlanta. Atlanta does get a win yesterday, but they've been struggling as of late, man. They really have. Carne Asada on the mound for the Cubs today, going up against Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton's been pretty good on the road this year. .99 whip, 3.6 FIP, an expected FIP of 3.33, average against at 209 with a K rate of 28%. So he's been pitching really well on the road overall this season. So give him his flowers there. In terms of him going up against this Cubs team, he doesn't have the best of numbers. 227 average against. He has 96 plate appearances against the current guys on this team. 270 expected average against. Expected slugging 372. WOBA 332. So those numbers look better, but the average is a little bit scary. Javier Carne Asada here, 50 plate appearances against, 250 average. Expected batting average of 245. So neither one of these guys truly looking at a potential to go out there and deal. But that being said, Charlie Morton does have those away numbers this season, so I think I'm going to lean towards them. You're getting a decent price to a -125, so yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Atlanta Braves here, coming off of a win. I get it; they could be taxed after a doubleheader, traveling to Chicago. I understand, but I'm going to trust what this pitcher is going to do. And then both these offenses, honestly, have been struggling, kind of surprisingly. So I think that this could be a decent spot for Atlanta to at least hang in this game and give us a good shot. Probably a first 5 play, though, because they're one of their best middle relievers. 2 setup men and closer went yesterday in their game against, I believe it was, well, either way, they pitched yesterday. It shouldn't matter if it was the first or second game. So I do think that this is a spot for maybe a first 5 play for them instead of kind of going full game, because even though they do have a better bullpen than Chicago, they're that sort of taxed that it's probably not the move. And you can still get them first 5 at -128. So fairly similar odds. In terms of a total, it's at 10.5. And like I said, I understand why. I don't think either one of these pitchers has a great track record against, but I do think Charlie Morton has a decent day today. So I'm going to slightly lean towards the under in this spot. St. Louis taking on Baltimore. St. Louis getting the win yesterday, 6-3. Kyle Bradish on the mound for Baltimore, who I do think has a better track record here, just on the season versus the starting pitcher for St. Louis, who is Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn's got a 4.17 ERA, Bradish a 2.63. And this is a lineup for St. Louis that does have a decent amount of lefties in it. Kyle Bradish has been killing it against lefties. Like, if we look at the dashboard here, like, left-handed hitters, absolutely one of his strong suits. So that's something to note here. Overall, I think this is going to be a spot for Baltimore. Their offense still has been struggling, and I understand that against righties. But Lance Lynn is not a guy that's going to, go out there and absolutely tear it up, or at least he shouldn't. So that should throw that sort of, Baltimore's going to be tough, against righties. I don't think so. This is a Kyle Bradish that I do like, and this Baltimore team should be able to bounce back. For minus 140 odds over on ESPN Bet right now, I think that this is probably the move. If you like the play and the plus money for St. Louis and want to fade those bats, I can understand that argument. So don't get me wrong, acting like this is like a Baltimore game all day long. No, I just think that they have the better pitcher, the better bullpen, and I think that there's some hollowness in this St. Louis lineup offensively. So that's kind of where I'm coming out there. Not to say that, if you like St. Louis, switch up your mind because I said so. I'm a dummy. You know what I mean? I just think that Baltimore bounces back in this spot. Total at 8.5 right now. In terms of what we're looking at there, I think this is like another 4-3, potentially 5-3 game in favor of the Orioles. So I'm going to lean towards the under, kind of hoping that Bradish keeps it together because I think Lance Lynn's going to give or allow the Orioles to score 4 to 5 runs, bare minimum. All right, Houston taking on the Angels. Houston, huge favorites in this spot, obviously. Makes sense there. Yesterday, though, I guess, you'd be kind of surprised by the finish of that one. 9-7 win for the Angels, but it almost just makes me think that Houston's going to bounce back even more. So, yeah, I'll lean towards them. Christian Javier on the mound for them, Griffin Canning on the mound for the Angels. This could also be a nice over spot to take a peek at here. It's at 8.5, which is kind of weird to me because I don't necessarily think Christian Javier is going to absolutely deal, and it's almost like we know Griffin Canning is not going to deal, right? So, yeah, I kind of like the over 8.5 in this spot. Like, give me a 5-4 game. Yesterday we saw a 7-9. I'll take that again. But yeah, give me the over. And again, Houston's probably some sort of money line play. But same thing as yesterday. Like, when I say these guys are such heavy favorites, money line play, it doesn't mean that I think that they're a lock. No, let me explain that. It doesn't mean that I think they're a lock. It means that I think that there's not enough value on the other side to be able to get to. Like today, plus 180, I guess you can make the argument that, well, what do you mean? The Angels plus 180, they're plus 190 yesterday. It's like, even still, like, I think that that's more like that's in the range of what they should be versus having an edge. So hopefully that makes sense. But nonetheless, I like the over probably the most in this game overall. And guys, I know not many player props so far in today's video. We haven't really found many this morning, so it is what it is. All right, we got Oakland taking on Colorado here. A battle of like two mad teams. Aaron Brooks on the mound, I believe, for Oakland, who I don't think he has any home starts this season because his start was trying to find that. But nonetheless, I don't think we have home data for him, obviously. Going up against Cal Quantrill, who has looked, dare I say, really good in his last 5 starts, which is really interesting. And I do think that this is a spot where, talk about value. So Colorado was playing well. They then get pumped. I get it. But for plus 120 odds, this is where I could see, okay, that's kind of, I think it's a 50-50 game. And for plus 120, you're telling me that's more of like a 55-45 game, which I don't think it is. So I'm going to lean towards Colorado, as stupid as that sounds. I'm not really advising anyone goes out there and does it, by the way. But yeah, I just think that this could be a spot in which we see, I guess, a decent performance from Colorado and potentially Cal Quantrill, which I'll sound the cycle alert alarm. I can't believe I'm saying it. In terms of the total, it's at 7.5 right now. Overall, this is a game that's probably going to be like 3-2 or 4-3 at most, so I'll lean towards the under here. And that also helps if Cal Quantrill is going to pitch well, which, again, kind of crazy, but it's the way that I'm leaning. All right, last game of the slate, we got the Dodgers taking on Arizona here in this spot. Yesterday, Dodgers pulled that one out. Today, they're minus 168, which is actually kind of like a consumable price for this offense. Brandon Pfaadt on the mound for Arizona, who has had his ups and downs. Definitely decent year, I guess, especially on the road. Going against Gavin Stone, who's definitely struggled, but he's been very good against right-handed hitters, which is going to be the more or less the larger makeup of this of this Arizona Diamondbacks starting lineup. I think that they have, I want to say, 5 righties, maybe 6 actually, if we could fact check that. I think 5 and 3 with a switch. So yeah, 5 righties. Should be a good, decent spot for them overall. In terms of a money line play, I do think that it sounds crazy. -168. I guess that's too much juice, but I like the Dodgers in this spot. They're playing good baseball, scoring a decent amount of runs. So yeah, I like them in the over in this spot. I don't necessarily have much faith in Brandon Pfaadt against them today. He's had 42 plate appearances against. Batting average against is 400. WOBA is 492. Slugging 600. Like, they should be able to get to him here. But Gavin Stone, little scary there to back. But nonetheless, Dodgers and the over for me. And guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure you guys do comment that number that we stopped at. I'm not going to say it now in case someone skipped around, but comment that number that we stopped at. Let me know that you made it that point in the video, because I love seeing the usernames. Like, I think what people don't realize is that creators and whatnot, like, or at least I do, I can't speak for other people, definitely remember these names and people that interact and all that, like, more than you might think. You might be like, oh, like, he's probably just liking that comment or whatever. Like, no, I got my eye on stuff. That's like when a guppy strolls in and is like, hey, like, this is the best. And I'm like, didn't you just, like, rag on me, like, less than 3 days ago and said that, like, you wish my family, like, X, Y, and Z. So I remember names, but I remember the good ones more than the bad ones. But nonetheless, guys, I am rambling like I do at the end of every video. You give Ev no structure, and it's like, let's talk about anything, which would get me in trouble. So I'm going to close out now. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.